This video is sponsored by Aura. I've been taking a bit of a break from seasonal anime since Dawn to Dawn Core 1 ended, but with Bones' brand new Gachiakuta anime finally out, I think it's time we head back to the shack because, guys, Gachiakuta, and yes, that is actually how you pronounce it, I'm doing it right, is goddamn sexalicious, and we need to go deep into every single orifice this first episode has. But first, a word from my sponsor, Aura. The LA Times and CBS News recently reported that every single American social security numbers and sensitive information was compromised and leaked onto the web. And with the rise of sites meant to scrub your data from the web to use them for nefarious means, you kinda need protection. This is where my sponsor, Aura, comes into play. I Google searched my name and was shocked to find that my information was literally just all there, in plain sight, and on a database I didn't consent to, at least. Emails, accounts I even forgot about a long time ago, full names, and even my address. And, as a content creator, that is kinda no bueno. This is where Aura is a game changer. They were able to scrub the entire web, even the dark web, and remove this information in a matter of moments. And on top of that, just this week, I was sent a notification that even more of my data had been found and removed. This comes in handy because if you were to search for and contact every single link with your personal data, it would take hours upon hours, most likely entire days of your life. And in this day and age, you need all of the time and peace of mind you can get. So instead of being one of the millions of Americans out there with their data out in the wild in the hands of criminals, remove them in a second with Aura. Aura comes with amazing features for the price and is one of the many reasons I actually trust them. Aura is your all-in-one shield. Dark web scans, fraud alerts, you get a VPN, even $5 million theft insurance. It's just one app. You get total protection in one app. Guys, that's insane. So don't be a victim of online theft. Try Aura free for 14 days at aura.com/ctactics. Let them handle the threats while you focus on what really matters, your online safety. So honestly, I was surprised, you guys. Very surprised. Gachiakuta starts out fairly straightforward, and the first episode in general is that way as well, but you can see much of its inspiration on its visual identity almost immediately. You have the character designs, which are somewhere like between a cross of Code Geass and Kill La Kill. However, the backgrounds and general coloring seems to be a little bit on the grittier side, and dare I say it, kinda has a hint of 86 as well. Season 2 win! The themes, however, are even more straightforward, with a cross between something like Kill La Kill and Attack on Titan. I'm making a lot of comparisons, but I'm just doing it because that's what I do when I watch a new anime, sorry. The main themes here are the juxtapositions of trash and the high-class elite, and how really those things are kind of interchangeable, aren't they? You have one side that is higher up and is seemingly covered in marble and very bright, very clean, and very pure themes to signify status and royalty. This is more or less the bourgeoisie, the rich, or the affluent of Gachiakuta. And down below, separated by a gigantic white marbled wall, beautiful, look at it, it's so clean, are the less affluent people who live in shacks. Still, the same white and pure clothing as the upper class rich people, but the roads, they aren't paved, the mud is thick and dust cakes everything. They're like the Eldians from AOT, pretty much. This is where we are introduced to our main character, Rudo, who is kind of a fixer-upper of sorts and sees trash less as waste, but more as a treasure or something to fix up and use and give to someone else. He sees value in things, which the people of this society do not because, surprise, he is the one with less than, and so he is forced to make do with all of the broken or scuffed items society deems as waste. One of the main through lines of this episode, however, was the teddy bear he finds in the trash that was discarded carelessly by a spoiled little girl and her affluent, milfy mama. This is then patched up and given to the girl that Rudo likes, Chiwa, who is not really a good person. and if you thought I wouldn't compare her design to Mikoto Misaka from a certain scientific railgun, then you've got another thing coming, bub. Chiwa, more or less, doesn't seem to be important beyond the emotional stab in the heart and the back of Rudo, as when sentenced to the pit for a crime he didn't even do, she turns her back on him and is oh so quick to label him as a murderer. Such a a good person. Now, this brings me to a really interesting aspect of this episode. In this world, if you commit a crime, especially if you are someone who is not in the upper levels of society, you are tossed out like trash into a pit of black and thick smog. It's a really cool visual and sort of reminds me of Made in Abyss, but serves a great purpose in showing that even though those who are lower on the totem pole are very much the same as those who oppress them. Nothing changes between these two societies, even though they look different. I mean, it's just one is either more clean or more dirty, but both on the inside seem to be equally dirty. I really enjoyed this from a nihilistic point of view because it shows that no matter what, humans will categorize people and label them. You can't escape it. Being less affluent doesn't mean something is more enlightened. It just means you look different and have access to different things. It's pretty grim, but I think it is a fantastic commentary on how our societies still work to this very day. Whether it's, do I even have to give an example? People will find a way to discard trash and deem something invaluable, even the trash itself. But this brings us to the big part of the episode. Not that big part, not that kaiju moment. We'll get to that later in the video. Of course, I am talking about the masked and ragged cloaked individual who kills the non-blooded related father of Ruto, Regto. And if you're confused with Ruto and Regto, I can't help you on that one. I'm not gonna lie though, this made me cock my head like Makima when she is faced with a decision to groom or not groom Denji. Probably should have used a better example there, but we're gonna roll with it. We see them in the beginning as the mother is throwing away the trash and the stuffed animal that Ruto would later give to Chiwa. The second time we see them is a bit more interesting because it also occurs with some of the upper level guards showing up in the lower level as we see them cloaked and in an alleyway. However, stick with me. But this big moment is with this masked figure killing Regto, shoving I guess that's a kukri blade, I think at least, through his chest, killing him. That was really redundant. I need to write better. This scene notably ends with a vaguely, I dare say it, feminine-looking hand picking up a book as Regto, in his dying words, tells Ruto to essentially save the world, as the last we see of them was when Ruto is plunged into the trash bin of society's trash bin in a godly shot. God, I'm so redundant. But, interesting, is it not? Here are some of my observations and theories. So let me know if I'm coping or if I'm cooking in the comments below. Okay, I think this masked figure is 100% a woman of some kind. What kind of woman? We don't know. This person is absolutely a woman because of the slender arm. Come on, the way the hand moves, which gives the illusion under the glove of a female hand, and also the way they animated it. Come on. Also, don't these shots just, I don't know, look like a woman's figure? Like, why is this important? I don't know, no idea, but the fact they are masked and cloaked says to me this person will be revealed somewhat soon, and them being a woman is important because they're cloaked, duh. No idea why though. I hope she is a total baddie, and she should be. The second observation is the book. This book clearly has something in it that ties Regto to a rebel movement to overthrow the powerful political figures at the top, and the only way to stop that is to go into the trash heap of society and change the world, bottom to top. This makes me think that somehow this masked figure could be working for those people at the top, as Regto was a key leader or figure in the rebel movement against them. This would make Regto coughing up blood and screaming at his son to change the world in a very, very beautifully traumatizing moment make much more sense. My guess is that, much like how in Attack on Titan, like Grisha promised to show Eren what was in the basement, this book holds the truths of the world and how it got this way. My guess is it has something to do with what we saw in that insane final moment. So before we break down and speculate that insane final moment and just what the hell is going on there, let's get this video to 500 likes. And you know what? 10 new subscribers. What is this gigantic metal monstrosity? After being sent into the depths of the pit, Ruto is met with a landscape of vast trash and pollution. But when the trash pile begins to move suddenly from when a gigantic metal monster appears. This was insane! It was a great way to hook the viewer to end episode 1. My guess is pretty much as good as any of yours, but I guarantee you that this land is filled with some of these mechanized beasts and is one of the reasons society flew to higher grounds. I also think that this place is where the true people of the series are that for sure have nothing and are much less coddled by a more civilized society. So I think this is where we're going to meet our main cast of characters, while the political turmoil of the above kind of plays itself out. Basically, we're going to meet the real people here. Another big issue here is that Ruto now seeks revenge on these people and wants them to die. The people from above, by the way. Well, at first, this is mega edgy, and some people, I guess, label it as cringe, and I can understand why they'd say that. I think what will happen here is a slow descent into that revenge for Rudo that will blind him from the people around him for a while. I think a good example of what I'm trying to say here is like he will get another girl, sort of like Chiwa, but someone who actually isn't going to turn her back on them as soon as the going gets rough. But he will mostly be oblivious to that, since he's all about obtaining revenge, being blinded by it. You know, typical stuff. I think that this is where we are headed, and these metal beasts will likely be like the Titans, but have something in them they can climb into and harvest, maybe some power source. However, I could also see it going the way of like these beasts being smart and sentient, or them being controlled by the people below. After all, it would be pretty hard to get around if the entire surface is mostly just toxic waste, right? But here is the big question. Rudo's hand has been blackened and left with a sort of scarlet letter of sorts, thematically, of course. He's been branded and tarnished, and I think that in some way, this is key to him being unique. After all, the color black in most shonen are never not something that makes MC special in some kind of way. That's never happened. Come on. It should be no different here. Rudo is most likely harboring some sort of power, and it may have to do with the ability to control these metal beasts, or something more, or maybe a little less. Who knows? This mystery may not be touched upon for a very long time, too. We will just have to see. Either way, heck, I mean, that was an interesting first episode for Gachiakuta. I can understand why some would be kind of put off by it, as some kind of feel it's derivative, or maybe too derivative of like an AOT or a Kill La Kill or something. I get it, but I also think that this may be one of those series that later on down the road probably really kicks into high gear and shows why it is so popular, seemingly. I mean, who knows? This could all just be a fever dream. I hope not. Yeah, there's no joke there, or some quippy one-liner. I just hope like this right here isn't a fever dream. That would suck. Hey, check out my recent video on Dawn to Dawn episode 13. It was a real big old banger, so I'd love it if you did. Also, check out my recent Attack on Titan stuff and blah, 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 blah. Make it a great day or not, the choice is yours.